Oh, hi there. I was just reenacting one of the possible side effects of a chemical I just learned about. Nitrous oxide. Chemical formula, N2O. This chemical is commonly known as laughing gas. But before we get into the nitty-gritty chemical aspects of N2O, let's just, go through a brief overview of what this chemical is, where it comes from, and when it was found. Nitrous oxide is a colorless gas with a slightly sweet odor. At regular temperature, it is the least reactive of all nitrogen oxides, but at a higher temperature, it behaves as an oxidant, which we will go over later. And it is soluble in a wide variety of solvents, including water, alcohols, and sulfuric acid. The gas was first discovered
by Joseph Priestley in 1772 and described in his paper titled Observations on Different Kinds of Air. Priestley collected this gas by sprinkling nitric acid over iron fillings.
Its anesthetic use began with
Dr. Horace Wells, a dentist in the early 1800s, who encouraged its use for both dental and medical procedures. His persistence earned him the title Discoverer of Anesthesia.
N2O is synthesized both naturally and by humans. It is produced naturally in soil by microbial processes of
denitrification and nitrification, processes recycling nitrogen and oxygen.
The heavy utilization of
synthetic nitrogen fertilizers in crop production results in higher N2O emissions from agricultural soils. Nitrous oxide can be made by the thermal decomposition of ammonium nitrate at temperatures between 170 to 260 degrees Celsius. This can be done using a Bunsen burner, hot water, tubing, and a jar to collect the gas.
The French chemist
Claude-Louis Berthollet created this method in 1785 and it has been widely used ever since. Now here's a look at the chemical reaction that we're dealing with.
Ammonium nitrate can potentially explode during this process if its temperature gets too high, so there is a risk factor. The goal is to end up with N2O and water vapor. N2O is soluble in both fats and oils. And since this is a condensable gas, its characteristics make it an ideal propellant for aerosol whipping cream. But nitrous oxide is mainly used as
an inhalation anesthetic and analgesic, mainly for dentistry and other medical surgery. An anesthetic basically makes somebody go unconscious, and an analgesic prevents any pain that would be felt.
At lower concentrations, exposure causes central nervous system, hepatic, reproductive, and cardiovascular effects in humans. At high concentrations, N2O acts as an asphyxiant. It basically makes the person inhaling it overly relaxed and impairs their normal rate of breathing to a point where they're not even breathing really anything at all, and they suffocate. So dentists, when they have their patients inhale N2O, they have them inhale it along with oxygen because otherwise asphyxiation would occur. Side effects include impaired judgment and impaired physical coordination, at times leading to dangerous and abnormal behavior. It can also lead to mental confusion and hallucinations. But the question is, what is going on chemically in the body that's causing all this to happen? Well, that's what we're about to delve into. So N2O acts by oxidizing
vitamin B12. And N2O converts the cobalt of the vitamin B12 from its monovalent form to its bivalent form, causing it to be inactive. So as a result, methionine synthase, which is also a part of vitamin B12, its activity is inhibited. The methionine synthase is essential for the production of DNA, and since its activity is inhibited, this could lead to some problems. The B12 vitamin is a bound coenzyme of methionine synthase with a monovalent cobalt at the center.
This inhibition results in vacuoles in neurons. So basically, these nerve cells in the brain are getting destroyed, which pretty much leads perfectly into the study done on rats.
Adult female rats were exposed to 150 volume percent N2O for various durations from 1 to 16 hours. When N2O was terminated at 3 hours, some rats were killed 1 hour later.
Short-term exposure of N2O to adult rats resulted in a reversible neurotoxic vacuole reaction in the neurons of the rat brains. For the rats that survived the experiment, 3 hours later after the reaction, the vacuole reaction had pretty much completely disappeared.
The findings demonstrated that short-term exposure of adult rats to N2O causes injury to the posterior cingulate cortex neurons, which is rapidly reversible, and prolonged N2O exposure leads to neuronal cell death. In other words, it takes constant exposure to kill these nerve cells.
This damage to the posterior cingulate is also known as Onley's lesions. So basically, this gas is an antagonist of NMDA glutamate receptors.
N-methyl-D-aspartate, or NMDA, is an amino acid receptor that allows individuals to respond to excitatory stimuli through the interrelated functioning of NMDA receptors, glutamate, and dopamine, which are all neurotransmitters that send messages to this receptor. All of these are important for neural communication.
Nitrous oxide acts as an NMDA receptor blockade, so it's pretty much protecting the nerve cell from being destroyed by excitotoxicity, which is pretty much defined as it sounds. It's when
a nerve cell is continuously stimulated by a neurotransmitter, especially in those neuronal systems which use glutamate.
Lastly, when NO2 is released into the body, these neurons in the spinal cord are activated.
GABA neurons in the spinal cord are involved in the anti-nociceptive actions of nitrous oxide, which basically means that when N2O enters the body, this neuron gains the ability to numb pain. The mechanism that allows these neurons to suppress pain remains unclear in the field of biochemistry, though.
In general, these dangerous side effects aren't really caused by small concentrations of the gas because of its low toxicity and small span of existence. But on the other hand, constant exposure to the gas, usually caused by addicts, can result in long-term damage and certain side effects, as mentioned, asphyxiation. But a lot of research is still being done on this chemical.
Crazy. Demi Moore was hospitalized from a reaction to nitrous oxide,
more commonly known as laughing gas. You guys good? Alright, let's continue. Demi inhaled the drug from what's known as a whippet. Dr. Vegas explains.
A whippet is like a street term for the little canisters of nitrous oxide that they put in whipped cream cans. You inhale it and it gets you high for like a minute. She started having seizure-like symptoms, shaking, and the friends that were with her called 911.
Demi's getting treatment for substance abuse and she'll probably be fine. But, gotta say,
it is weird.
It's so weird.
Weird that she's doing. It's insane that she's doing it.
It is pretty weird and insane that there are such things as addicts of nitrous oxide, so as long as you aren't an addict, you shouldn't be worried about some of these dangerous side effects. Even though laughing gas effects aren't very funny, or completely understood by scientists, it's also something most people don't really need to worry about.